Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate, heading down to the Iron Bowl, Alabama, heading on the road to play the Auburn Tigers, and looking at this game, kind of getting some prep work done. Nick Saban, the greatest head coach at the college football level that we have seen, though this might be his most impressive performance that we've seen in his career. I mean, you took a team that embarrassed at home against Texas, goes on the road to USF and looks like a team that might not even go 500 in conference play. You fast forward heading into week 12, this Alabama team looks like it can win a national title. In the transformation this team has gone through, whether it's Jalen Milroe, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's the wide receivers on the outside, you can't speak enough of how impressive a job of Nick Saban has done getting this team where it needs to be. You look at Auburn, and I'm very confident Hugh Freeze is going to get this thing turned around. But you look at that offense, they just lack the playmakers on the outside to do what Hugh Freeze wants to do on the offensive side of the ball. The beauty of this game, the beauty of rivalries in college football, always going to be a fun one. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support you guys have shown for all of these game breakdowns truly does mean a lot. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and would love to hear from you guys. Picks, predictions, throw them in the comment section. Dale, going to give you the T-box here. Bama heading on the road to play Auburn. How we feeling?
And you're right. There's a reason this game is capped at 14 or so points for Alabama and not like 20 or 24. It does. When these rivalry games kind of come around, like they just have a way of shaking out where they end up being close. And yeah, Auburn looked gross against New Mexico State. But you're right. You probably will get your best punch, but Auburn does at the end of the day got to find something on offense that works because it feels like they're constantly searching for something, and they really.
And you felt like you were getting some momentum and getting a little bit of an identity, and then you go to that New Mexico State game. You can't run the football against a group of 5 team. You struggle to hit the explosive plays through the passing game. I mean, we'll start there. Looking at this Auburn offense, I mean, they're going to have their hands full against an Alabama defense that you said heading into the year, if you were picking Alabama to win a national championship, it was because of this defense, and it has lived up to the billing. You look at the front 7, absolute dominance. You look at the secondary, littered with NFL talent. Auburn wants to run the football. 60% of their offensive snaps are rushing attempts. They're running the football against this Alabama team, specifically with the team speed they have at the linebacker spot, trying to get to the perimeter. I mean, it's going to be tough sledding against this Alabama front 7.
And you know how good this defensive line is. That's very obvious. I mean, those defensive tackles, they rotate in about 3 or 4 who are really, really dominant. I think Otis is great. I think Tim Keenan's really good, and Smith can play. And there's more. And that unit is deep. It's athletic. They make a ton of plays. What I think has helped really, again, take this Alabama defense up a notch is Jahad Campbell. I mean, he stepped in from that running mate to what Lawson's doing and just played really, really well.
Jahad Campbell has been like the star of this team. I mean, he has played at such a high level, a guy that you didn't think would get much burn heading into the year, kind of one of the leaders on this defense. What I'm looking at, and you look at where Auburn has had a ton of success, specifically around the football, you go look at a game against Georgia, attacking the perimeter, getting to the outside. Dallas Turner, he's an elite pass rusher. We all know that does not get enough credit for how good he is in the run game, keeping contained, holding that edge. You look at Auburn and what they're going to try to be doing running the football. Not only are you looking at really some linebackers that can go sideline to sideline, guys like Deontay Lawson, but you're looking at Braswell, Dallas Turner. It is going to be really hard to attack the edges when you have not only a really well-coached defense, but a defense that is just supremely talented, especially at that edge position.
Yeah, and that's a spot, again, you kind of mentioned the little success that Auburn's kind of had has come through being able to run a game where you're, again, able to like outflank teams, for lack of a better word, and get on the edge of Georgia where they just felt like they were a step behind. They were getting teams' eyes caught in the backfield. And you're right, it's just the team speed that Alabama has in that front 7, both at the defensive end spot and then also at the linebacker spot with the emergence of Campbell. That will be kind of the test and what Auburn's going to be able to do. Because, again, you look at the back end, I just don't see how they throw the ball very effectively.
That's kind of what I'm looking at. Is like they want to run the football. They run it 60% of the time. That's top 10 in the country. But hitting those explosive plays, which Auburn has been very, very bad at. They're outside of the top 100 in explosive play rate through the passing attack. I don't know how much it's going to get better against the secondary that Kool-Aid McKinstry, top 10 NFL draft pick, Caleb Downs, not playing like a true freshman back there. Terry and Arnold, been absolutely phenomenal. Malachi Moore, the list goes on and on. Can the wide receivers who really struggled to create any sort of separation against New Mexico State create separation against all SEC caliber defensive backs in Alabama? That's a question mark. And to add to the question marks about Auburn scoring points here, Dill, you look at this offensive line. Peyton Thorne has not done the offensive line favors in terms of getting the ball out quick. This is an Auburn team that gets sacked 10.1% of dropbacks. That's 119th in the country. You look at Alabama, Braswell, Turner, Tim Keenan sending the backers. They're sacking the quarterback 9.3% of the time. So you look at not only are they going to struggle, I think, creating separation in the back end, but can they pass protect against an Alabama pass rush that is one of the best units in the country?
Yeah, and that has been the issue. It's just like, again, I don't know what Auburn's going to do on Saturday to really find some consistent success. And that is just the fundamental issue to me. What Auburn has is they don't have something to rely on that works and works pretty much every time. Again, it's been impressive that they've been able to figure it out at times and just like cobble together some semblance of an attack. But again, it's just like from game to game, you don't see one identity, one part of what they can do. And I just don't see how you can really attack those elite defenses unless, again, they do something like what they were able to do against Georgia. It's just like at this point, with how Alabama's playing, I feel like that's going to be hard.
And if you're an Auburn fan, like what you're hoping is Hugh Freeze getting in his bag and like has some stuff dialed up that can confuse an Alabama secondary that's been good, but inexperienced in some parts. I mean, a true freshman and Caleb Downs back there. Can Hugh Freeze scheme something up? Or a few plays up to get a guy wide open, score some easy touchdowns. Flipping the side, talk about the 180 Alabama's made on offense. Still, Jalen Milroe. I mean, again, going from getting benched heading into the USF game, basically kind of being not only the only reason, but a large part of not beating Texas at home to now being one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. The story is, and we kind of said this, as Tommy Rees, Nick Saban, and Jalen Milroe kind of figure out what Jalen Milroe can do and giving him some good looks that he's comfortable with. And this Alabama offense has a high ceiling because we know what Jalen Milroe can be, and you're starting to see them really figure it out on the offensive side of the ball here.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond have come into their own as like two ultra reliable guys who he can pretty much go to, especially Jermaine Burton. I mean, you see some of the monster plays he's made for them. Like that A&M game, that's as good as I've seen a wide receiver play, I feel like, in maybe all year. He was just so good in that game. In him emerging and, again, being that dependable target where on those big money downs that they have some sort of answer to go to instead of just, again, like what we talked about, where like you just kind of create chaos and hope something good happens. I think that's what it felt like Milroe was doing a little bit at the early onset of the season. Again, found.
I totally agree with that. Like playing within structure and like dialing things up. It seemed like the explosive plays that Alabama was finding early were kind of off script. Little backyard football, Jalen Milroe making something happen. Now it's, we're scheming up shots. And Jermaine Burton, arguably the best deep threat wide receiver in the entire country. All this dude does is get wide open down the field. And that's credit Tommy Rees for scheming things up. And that's credit Jermaine Burton for being a fast physical presence down the field. This Alabama passing attack, 9.8 yards per pass attempt, fourth in the country. One of the most explosive offenses that you see, especially through the air. But what it's helped it massively, and this is kind of a double-edged sword. What was really bad early was the offensive line was not good in pass pro. Jalen Milroe just walking into sacks, no pocket presence. Both of those things have gotten a lot better, and that has resulted in an Alabama offense that has really hit its stride down the stretch here.
Yeah, and to go into that offensive line for Alabama, here's to me where Auburn has to win if they're going to have any chances. Jones and Harris are like those guys in the middle are going to need to do essentially what Texas was able to do and play really physical, stop that inside run. And that has been one thing Auburn's done okay of all years. They can stop the run. That's going to be the battle. Alabama's offensive line is playing at a far higher level than they were earlier. I think they found their five guys. I think Roberts coming in at right guard has made a world of difference. He's a monster. But I think that's going to be the battle I'm looking for to say, like, okay, can Auburn hang in this game? Because if they can't stop the run, I don't see how they even really be competitive. But again, I think if those defensive tackles can kind of play the way they've been playing all year and use to let their athletes at linebacker run free, that will be that kind of, if they're going to keep this close, that's how they're going to do it.
And Eugene Asante can be that guy to be that presence, maybe a spy, like kind of see ball, get ball when Jalen Milroe tries to extend plays. Like this Auburn defense has been solid. And like I think the personnel is there, but I think they're also playing at a pretty high level. Maybe barring that New Mexico State performance, I think this Auburn defense has been pretty solid. So they got to force some turnovers, kind of try to get Jalen Milroe back to being uncomfortable like he was the first couple of weeks of the season. If they can do that, they can hang in this game.
That's make him throw the ball a zillion times. And that's like, again, if you can make him.
And taking away the deep shot. You know, like that's where Jalen Milroe, where he's most, I mean, he throws a beauty of a deep ball. He struggles underneath sometimes, but when he's letting that thing cook, like he can air it out.
And that will be, again, that's to me like Auburn's defense, I think, has a shot to be competitive in this game for sure. I think if they're going to keep it close, it will be a rather low scoring game. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. I think these defensive tackles need to play the game of their lives. These linebackers need to play the game of their lives. And the secondary just needs to bounce back. I mean, again, a unit that's been good. It was really, really weak against New Mexico State, but I think this unit's very talented, very experienced. I don't think you should have a ton of issues. Like, again, a lot of teams have let Alabama run downfield wide open. I don't really see that from this Auburn team, given how many
ton of experience. Yeah, ton of experience back there. And if you're Auburn, you want to drag it into the mud a little bit. Like that's probably how you're winning this football game. They'll get into the pick. Alabama 14.5 point favorites on the road. Who you rocking with here?
I don't have a great reason to pick Auburn, but 14.5 points is a lot of points in a rivalry game. I think they might be able to slow Alabama's attack down and again, bounce back a little bit, like have something to prove. I don't think they really have a great enough shot to win this game just because of how bad their offense is, but I think maybe they can muck this game up a little bit and keep it competitive.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Alabama. Like I think this team is it's in Death Star mode. Like, I mean, the improvement that you've seen from this group on the offensive side of the ball, like they can put up 30. I don't know if Auburn gets to 20. And I think they can hang 30 pretty comfortably with how explosive this offense has been. This defense, I think, going to force some turnovers. Give me Alabama to roll through and go get that legendary matchup against the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC championship game. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.